Hello and good evening, everybody. And tonight thought it'd be a very good idea to bring you episode 98 of Album Rant. And as you see from the title of the video and what you can see with your own eyes, I am again going to review a Queen album. And tonight I am going to review their fourth studio album released in 1975 entitled A Night at the Opera. And you probably know a whole lot about this band, and the lineup is incredibly iconic. We have the late Freddie Mercury on lead vocals, occasional piano, and occasionally other stuff. We have the one and only Brian May on lead guitar and occasional lead vocals and other stuff. We have John Deacon on the bass guitar and other stuff. And then, of course, Roger Taylor on the drums, lead vocals, and, of course, other stuff. And so, as you see right here again, I'm going to be covering Night at the Opera, and I'm very excited about this. But as per usual, I'm going to kind of catch everybody up to how we got here and what came before this album. But as you probably already know, they were a English rock band, and I believe they formed in the early 70s. And they had a very stable lineup all throughout their tenure, which I think is very impressive. Most artists go through a wide revolving door of lineup changes. Queen never really did. But anyways, their very first album came out in the year 1973, and it was simply entitled Queen. And I thought it was amazing. It was a very straightforward, straight ahead, hard rocking album. And I don't know if you really want to call it heavy metal. Some out there may consider it, or at least a precursor to heavy metal. I don't know. I've always sort of just considered them a rock band, but I gotta admit, a lot of the numbers on this album, they were pretty freaking heavy, such as Keep Yourself Alive, Doing All Right, which kind of alternated back and forth between a very slow and melodic section and a very heavy and aggressive section. We also had Son and Daughter, we had Modern Time Rock and Roll, we had Liar, we had Jesus, and we had a snippet of a song called Seven Seas of Rye, which I will get to in a second. But anyways, I really love that debut album, and if for whatever reason you have not heard it, please go out and hear it. So they came back the following year with an album called Queen 2. And I have reviewed that before on Album Rant, and I highly suggest checking out that review or the album if for some reason you haven't already heard it, because it was phenomenal. It was a very progressive, very epic and ambitious album, and I actually think I liked it better than the debut album, which is really saying a lot. And one thing I noticed, the songwriting became a lot more progressive, a lot more ambitious, and a lot more mature also, if that makes any sense. But the way the album was structured, we had the white side and the black side. And the white side, which was side one, included the compositions by Brian May and Roger Taylor. And then the black side, which was side two, did I get that right? I think I did. That included the songs that were written by Freddie Mercury. And some of the highlights from that album, we had Father to Son, which I loved. We had White Queen As It Began. I think I said that correctly. We had The Loser in the End. We had Someday, One Day. I think I said that correctly also. But then also on the other side, on the black side, we had Ogre Battle. We had March of the Black Queen, which was the big centerpiece, the big finale or climax of the album. And man, that song was really epic in scope. And it had all these varying segments and movements within each other, and they just flowed and moved together so well. This was not your typical rock verse chorus song. No. This thing was proggy, and I really loved it. We had Funny How Love Is. And then finally, at the very end, we had the completed version of Seven Seas of Rye, which is one of my all-time favorite Queen songs. Starts off with piano, and that's fine, but yeah, it just gets really fast and really heavy. And I think Queen 2 is a criminally underrated album, and it definitely needs to be heard by as many people as possible. So later that following year, they came back once again and came out with a new album called Sheer Heart Attack, Well, actually, the song Sheer Heart Attack was not on it for some reason, but maybe I'll talk about that more in more depth later. And unfortunately, well, let me back up. I still really did love Sheer Heart Attack. It's a great album, but they were really starting to diversify a lot on that one. And it reminded me somewhat of Alice Cooper, just in the sense that they would have some very hard rocking numbers, and then some other numbers that really started to delve and move into varying genres. And that could be a good thing for some people, but if you like your Queen to be very hard rocking and very, very heavy, Sheer Heart Attack may have had some moments that might not have worked out so well for you. But some of the highlights from that one, we had Brighton Rock, which I love. We had Now I'm Here, which I love. We had Stone Cold Crazy, which may have been the birth of speed metal. You be the judge on that one, but I'll just say Wikipedia does consider it heavy metal, which I think is awesome. We also had Tenement Funster, Flick of the Wrist, Lily of the Valley, I think I said that correctly. However, unfortunately, we had a song called Killer Queen, which a lot of people really seem to love, and I recognize it is one of their greatest hits ever, and it's one of their more popular songs, but again, going into other genres, this really sounded more like vaudeville music, which I'm just really not all that into. That doesn't mean it's a bad song, it just might not have fully been for me. Then, of course, we had Bring Back That Leroy Brown. I think I said that correctly. And yeah, it really sounded more like banjo music, which I'm not fully into, okay? Dear Friends was a fairly decent piano ballad, but I'm not fully into piano ballads. But anyways, regardless, having said all that, it was still a great album. It was a huge success. And the following year, they came back once again with their fourth studio release entitled A Night at the Opera. And that is what I am going to be talking about tonight. Now, again, I'm sure you already know this, but it's named after a Marx Brothers film, as would the following album, A Day at the Races, released in 1976. But I'm not talking about A Day at the Races tonight. I'm talking about Night at the Opera. So let's open this bad boy up and see what's inside. Yep, there's the very iconic cover art. Okay, inside we have some song lyrics. Yep, yeah, I'm not going to read all that to you. I'll recite a few of them. I'm going to try not to sing it, though, because I cannot do Freddie Mercury, or actually I would do Freddie Mercury worse than most other singers. So yeah, we have some credits, we have some songs, some song lyrics. Yep, we have that right there. Then there's the band right there. That looks like Freddie. I believe that is Brian. I believe that is Roger Taylor, and that is John Deacon. And the last time that I tried to identify the pictures of the bandmates, this was a long time ago, I mixed two of them up, and I got eviscerated in the comments section, so I hope that doesn't happen this time. So yeah, is there anything on the inside? Unfortunately, on the inside, we just have a typical record sleeve, and nothing's printed on it or anything, but that's okay. I'm not really looking there too much. And I believe this is an original press. When I bought it, it had considerable wear and tear on it. It does not seem to be remastered, and I have not found any dates on the credits or anything that go beyond 1975. So I am assuming that this is a original release. So yeah, right here we have the track list, and it's written in cursive, unfortunately. Kind of hard to read, but I know the songs anyway, so it doesn't really make much difference. But it starts off with Death on Two Legs, which is written by Freddie Mercury, and it is sung by Freddie Mercury. And this one starts out very moody, very gloomy. It's got kind of a fade-in piano intro, and I thought that was a very, very interesting and novel approach, so I do like that. But then as it builds up, the song kind of stops for a bit. And the piano's playing, but then, man, the rest of the band comes in, and it's very heavy. It's one of the heavier songs on this album, and I really, really love it. It's got kind of a crunching rhythm, if that makes any sense. It's definitely mid-tempo. It's not fast. I wouldn't call it slow, though. But, yeah, it's heavy, and it broods and broods along, and I really love it. Very catchy rhythm. And apparently, This is about the band falling out with their original manager by the name of Norman Sheffield. And even though the song makes absolutely no reference to him at all, the guy actually sued the band for defamation. Yeah, and again, he kind of had to connect some dots to make that connection there because the band was very subtle about this, but still, he did actually sue them. And during the whole lawsuit thing, Mercury was advised to not discuss the lyrics as it could be quote-unquote actionable. Okay, yeah, this guy really did not see the humor in the whole thing. But yes, Mercury, he really pulled all the punches on this one. He had nothing but disdain for this fella, and he was trying to be as coarse as possible, and the other bandmates were just completely and totally shocked by the fact that Mercury was writing such harsh and such demeaning and such vulgar lyrics. But it was eventually agreed upon by the bandmates that the song must be performed in its original context, in its original meaning, in the spirit of Mercury's true vision, and I really am glad that they did that. But yeah, I have reviewed the Live Killers album before, and when introducing this song, Freddie Mercury explained who it was dedicated to, and he said some words that I generally don't say on this channel, and even the record company didn't really agree with it or find them appropriate because they actually beat them out, and it's actually pretty funny. But yes, you suck my blood like a leech, you break the law and you breach, screw my brain till it hurts, you've taken all my money, you still want more. He's a misguided old mule with your pig-headed rules, with your narrow-minded cronies who are fools of the first division. Death on two legs, you're tearing me apart. And again, the song just continues on with that mid-tempo rhythm, but it just continues to build and build and build towards something, which I really love. And then towards the end, again, it keeps building up, and then the song just completely stops. And then it moves into the second number called Lazy on a Sunday Afternoon. Okay? This one is very, very short. And it reminds me a lot of Killer Queen, as in the sense that it seems to be trying to instill that vulnerable feeling within it. And having all said that, this isn't exactly one of my favorite songs. It's definitely one that I would usually skip through if I wasn't listening to the album from beginning to end. I mean, fortunately, it's pretty short. It's only a couple of minutes or so, but it's not exactly my cup of tea. And this really goes back to the whole varying genres and trying to diversify, feeling that they are definitely instilling on this album they picked up on the Sheer Heart Attack album. So, if you like it, I'm very happy, but this just isn't a very heavy song. It doesn't have much of a punch or a kick to it, and Freddie seems to be just chilling and trying to be very mellow and kind of silly in a sense also. Not really for me, but I'm happy for you if you like it. But then it comes to the next song called I'm in Love with My Car. This is the big Roger Taylor centerpiece on this album. He wrote it and he sang it. And it's not about him, actually. Apparently it's about one of the band's roadies whose car who was very, very obsessed with his car, and he actually called it the love of his life. Okay, buddy, it's just a car. It's a hunk of metal with combustible gasoline inside of it. If you really consider that to be the love of your life, I think you might have some issues. I'm really not much of a car person. To me, a car just takes me to and from work, so I guess some people, take a lot of pride in them. Not really me, however. But on this song, actually, it is a pretty heavy song. It's also mid-tempo and it's kind of dark, and it's definitely very moody, not the upbeat, chippery feel that we had on the previous song. But Roger Taylor actually does play some guitars on this, along with the drums, and he sings the lead vocals, so he's really pulling his weight on this one. And apparently he loved this song so much, and he wanted it recorded, produced, and on the album so much that he allegedly locked himself in a cupboard and basically held himself hostage until it was agreed upon by the band to at least release it as the B-side to the Bohemian Rhapsody single. I will be talking about that later. Don't make no mistake about that. But yes, it is a great song. Like I said, it's very, very dark and very, very moody, which I really like. It's got a great rhythm also, and it has some great guitarists on it also. But yes, the machine of a dream, such a clean machine, with the pistons a-pumping and the hubcaps all gleam. And I'm holding your wheel, all I hear is your gear. When my hand's on your grease gun, oh, it's like a disease, son. And then, of course, we have the very iconic chorus where he's just going, I'm in love with my car, love with my car. Got a feel for my automobile. And, of course, as I kind of just alluded to, Freddie and Brian perform the background vocals on this, or the backup vocals. And I think they do a very good job on this. This doesn't sound like your traditional Queen number, and that's okay. I really love it. So yeah, I'm in love with my car. Great song. So after that comes the very first song, actually no, I think it's the second song that John Deacon actually wrote for the band. I could be wrong on that. It's called You're My Best Friend, right there. The fourth song. And actually, for the longest time, I had heard this song for a while. Like, it's one of those numbers that's permanently ingrained into our pop culture, and I think that's great. But for the longest time, I just did not know that it was a Queen song. For some reason, I didn't. And I just finally made the connection when I was in college, and I felt really, really stupid. But yes, this is kind of a slower number. It's a more melodic song, but it still has a bass and a drum kick to it, which I really do like. And apparently John Deacon wrote this for his wife, which is very sweet actually, because she is his best friend. Deacon also plays the electric piano, which really is the driving force behind this song. And we all know how it goes. Down, 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 down. And of course you have, ooh, you make me live, whatever this world can give to me. It's you, you're all I see. Ooh, you make me live. And I probably butchered that so badly because this is definitely not the kind of song I should be attempting to sing, but, well, I did it, too late now. But, yes, as I said, it's a very, kind of a very slow moving, but again, it's got a very sweet atmosphere to it, and it's cute. I really like it. And then, oh, you're my best friend that I ever had. Been with you such a long time. I really love it. So, yeah, You're My Best Friend. A little overplayed. Still a great song. Very catchy, okay? It may not be the heaviest song out there, but it's got enough of a kick to it that I really love it. So now the next song, track number 5, is entitled 39. And I should really hate this song. I really should. It is really not my genre of music because it is a folk song. This one was written by Brian May, and it was also sung by Brian May, the guitarist. And like I said, this is, for me at least, this should be a song that I just skip over every time I put this album in. But I don't. I think this song is incredibly catchy. Yeah, it's acoustically driven. Yeah, it's not really the heaviest song out there, but it's got such a great rhythm to it, and it's just a very fun sing-along song. It reminds me of a lot of Brawny Yar Stomp by Led Zeppelin. I'm not sure if I said that correctly. If I didn't, I'm sure you'll correct me, but the beat to it, that kind of punching beat to it, really reminds me of that song a lot. It's off Led Zeppelin 3, and maybe I'll talk about it someday, but those two songs, they really kind of go together for me at least. Now, this song was actually inspired by Brian May's love of astrophysics. Yes, that is correct. And at the time, he was actually working on his thesis for his degree or his doctorate in astrophysics, and I think that is really, really incredible. But apparently, it's about a group of astronauts go on a journey through space. And when they get back to Earth, they think, or at least to them, only a year has gone by. Now, if you ever saw the film Interstellar, this actually did play a role in that film, and That's a really great film, by the way. But what happens when you're up in space, you're in areas that exert a different gravitational pull on you than they do on Earth. Now, time is a function of space. So essentially, when the gravitational field is different, it bends time differently. So the clock that you have at certain locations in space, it's different than the clock that you would have if you were on Earth, because again, the gravitational pull is different. So when they get back, even though they think it's only been a year, 100 years have actually passed on Earth. And everyone they have ever loved, they are dead and they are gone. And now the world is very different than from which they left it. And I actually think that is incredibly tragic. And this may seem kind of out of left field, but there was actually a South Park episode where Cartman accidentally froze himself into the future, and then when he wakes up, he realizes everyone he knew is gone. And I know it was a complete and total farce, but it's actually very similar to the predicament these astronauts find themselves in. And I was actually always very fascinated by that concept, and someone needs to make a movie about that. I would go see it. I'm just saying that. I would go see it. But yeah, so it's got a very tragic backstory to it, or a very tragic story to it in general. But another thing that's kind of interesting or kind of cool about this song, Groucho Marx from the Marx Brothers. Because this album and the following album were named after two of his films, the band actually went and visited him in his final days, and they actually did perform the song 39 for him, which I think is incredible. This is also on the Live Killers album. However, Freddie actually sings it instead of Brian. And I'm not sure who I like better, actually. Brian definitely did a great job on this. I think Freddie is a stronger vocalist, but Brian really kind of brought something to the table, at least on this number, that Freddie didn't. So I'm a little torn between who I think pulled it off better, but they both pulled it off incredibly well, so I am happy about that. So yeah, after that we come to Sweet Lady, which is one of the more hard-rocking songs on this album, and this was also it was written by Brian May, but sung by Freddie. Yeah, Brian May tends to write the more hard-rocking numbers for Queen's discography, and that's just a trend that we're going to have to get used to. But yes, this is a very, very raunchy number. It's very sleazy and very sexual in nature. At least I think it is. If I'm wrong and someone corrects me, I'm going to look very stupid and apparently have a dirty mind. But anyways, it's kind of mid-tempo, but I really love it. Again, it kind of broods and broods along just like Death on Two Legs did. And I like it. You call me up and you treat me like a dog. You call me up and tear me up inside. You've got me on a lead. Oh, you bring me down. You shout around. You don't believe that I'm alone. Oh, you don't believe me. Sweet lady, sweet lady. I really like it, okay? This is one of the songs that really kind of falls through the cracks, at least in terms of Queen songs. And I think that's really unfortunate because it's great. It's catchy and it's heavy. I really love it. But then it all ends with Seaside Rendezvous. It was written and sung by Freddie Mercury, and this has been described, at least by AI, as a ragtime jazz number. Yeah, I'm not really that much into ragtime jazz, so this is not really going to be one of my favorites. It's very piano-led. It's kind of a silly song. This is one of the more disposable ones on here, and that's really just because, at least for me, hard rock and heavy metal those are really my roots, and that's really what I'm into. And I'm just really not that into ragtime jazz. So if you like that and you like this song, I think that's great. For me, it's just not hitting the mark. But that is that. Anyways, with Seaside Rendezvous, that concludes side number 1. And if I had to pick a favorite from side number 1, it's probably going to be Death on Two Legs. That song is just so epic. It's so heavy. It's so catchy. Freddie really came through on that one. Usually, like I said, Brian's songs I tend to enjoy more than Freddie's, but Freddie does come through sometimes, and he definitely came through here. So yeah, Death on Two Legs is my favorite. I also do like 39. I also love I'm in Love with My Car. I also love Sweet Lady and You're My Best Friend. Really, Lazy on a Sunday Afternoon and Seaside Rendezvous. If they were removed from the album, I probably wouldn't care that much, but they're there, so you can listen to them. So after that, side number 2 is right over there. And it starts with the Prophet song. Okay? This one is Queen's longest song. It runs 8 minutes and 22 seconds. For a Queen song, that is really, really long, okay? It was written by Brian May, of course it was, and it's another very proggy yet very heavy number. I really love the Prophet song, okay? It has been described as mystical prog rock, and as I said, it is the longest Queen song to date. And of course, if you listen to the lyrics, it's pretty easy to pick up on, actually. This, of course, is out the biblical flood of Noah, which we all heard about in Sunday school, and I'm not going to get too much further into that, but it is great. And apparently, it was inspired by a dream he had while recovering from an illness that he incurred during the sheer heart attack sessions. Okay, well, regardless, he still did produce a Queen classic. We have, oh, people of the earth, listen to the warning, the sheer he said, beware of the storm that gathers here, listen to the wise man. And yes, you can tell the lyrics are very biblical in scope, and I think that's pretty awesome, actually. Now, on the face-off episode between Queen and Pink Floyd that I did a few months ago, actually it might have been more like 6 months ago, I can't remember, I actually attempted to replicate the quote-unquote vocal canon by Freddie in the middle. I am not going to subject you to that again. I am not. It would be very embarrassing on my part. But for about 2 or 3 minutes or so, the song just kind of stops for a bit. And Freddie takes over, and he does some really freaky things with his voice. And again, it's kind of weird, actually, and that might be a turnoff for some people. I think it's freaking awesome. I mean, say what you will about him. I mean, he did write some songs that I can't get behind. He did take the band in a direction that I can't really get behind, but the man was a very talented vocalist. You cannot take that away from him, and he really showcases it off right here. I think it's awesome, okay? But yes, after that, it does pick up again, and the rhythm has almost a staccato feel to it. It's like dun, 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 sort of. In a way, I guess, but yeah, the Prophet song is a great number, and it's another one that's really fallen through the cracks through the years, and definitely check it out for whatever reason you have not. It is a classic Queen song. So, yeah, unfortunately after that, the album, at least for me, kind of slows down a bit, because we have Love of My Life, which was written and sung by Freddie Mercury. This is a piano ballad. And some people consider this to be one of the better songs from the album. I think that's awesome. But again, it's a piano ballad. Now, there are some piano ballads that I like, okay? There are some. Not many, but there are some. And it's because they're catchy. I don't really feel this one is all that catchy. Freddie is still, and this is something that really drove me nuts about him, he really tries to be operatic, and opera music is just not my style, okay? It is for some people. Some people really love the more artsy and opera side of Freddie. I think that's great, and he really showcases off right here, but it's just really not for me, okay? But Love of My Life, it's there, okay? If you like piano ballads, if you like that side of Queen, you'll probably really love this one. For me, if you prefer the more hard rocking side of Queen like I do, you might find it a little bit disposable. Same thing with Good Company. And this one was written and it was sung by Brian May, actually, which is kind of surprising, actually, because this is also a very soft song. And yes, this has been described as quote-unquote Dixieland jazz. I am not really into Dixieland jazz, but I am not going to take away the sheer brilliance of Brian May. He plays the ukulele on this one, which, again, could be a turnoff for some people, but it is kind of for me, but he's doing some really amazing things on there, and the guy is really, really talented. He was a guitar genius. He was a songwriting genius, and he really does show it off right here. So yeah, the genre of music is not going to be for everyone. It's not fully for me, but I still realize he's very talented, and the song is well-crafted and well-performed for what it is, okay? Another interesting fact, I don't think Freddie does anything on Good Company. I think he's absent from it. I could be wrong here, and I'm sure, again, someone will correct me, but at least according to Wikipedia, Freddie has nothing to do with this. He did not write it. He did not perform on it, not even backing vocals. Interesting. All right, guys, you knew this was coming, all right? I have avoided the subject the previous 2 times it could have potentially come up. I am done running. I am done hiding. I am going to go ahead and talk about it. Bohemian Rhapsody. And I'm going to be very honest. I freaking hate this song. I have never liked it. Even from the first time I heard it in high school, I thought it was very, very annoying. I thought that the piano segment at the beginning, I thought it was too melodramatic and whiny. And even after the song really starts to pick up about halfway through, it's still annoying. I don't like the opera stuff. I don't think Freddie is really giving a good vocal performance on this. Well, let me back up. He is giving a good vocal performance, but it does not suit my style of music, okay? Again, the guy was very talented, but he wrote some songs I don't fully agree with, and this was one of them. Say what you will about me in the comments, guys. I know you might think that I'm off my rocker. You might think that I don't know what I'm talking about. You might think that I wouldn't know a good song if it came up and bit me in the butt. Go right at it. I am not going to change my opinion. I cannot stand this song. I think it is way too overplayed. I think it is way too overrated, and I am just flat out sick of hearing it. And it doesn't help that back in 2011, I was coming down with insomnia, or I was suffering from insomnia, and every night for a straight week, I would wake up at 1 in the morning, and from 1 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. when I had to get up, Bohemian Rhapsody was in my head nonstop, and I could not sleep because of this stupid song, okay? It just grates on my nerves, and I flat out hate it. I have debated this with people on Facebook. I have said Queen has at least 50 songs that are better with Bohemian Rhapsody. Someone goes, oh yeah, name them. Then I did name them, and they got all offended and everything, so I don't know what it is people like about this, but I'm glad you like it. They even described it as Queen's big magnum opus. Guys, it is not Queen's big magnum opus. It's not even the best Queen song. It's not even the best Queen song from A Night at the Opera. It's not even the best Queen song from side 2 of A Night at the Opera. Heck, it's not even the best song from the Bohemian Rhapsody single. God. Guys, get over this song. It's awful. I hate it. It's so stupid. Okay, I'm kind of going to get off my soapbox for a bit. I kind of went off the rails here. But it closes with a cover of God Save the Queen. And Brian May kind of put this together, and he came up with the arrangement and everything. And it's nothing really to write home about. It's an instrumental, of course, and it only runs about a minute 30 seconds or so, give or take or so. It's really more of a coda. It's really more of falling action after Bohemian Rhapsody. Oh, the big magnum opus is finished. And it's good for what it is, okay? The guitar is pretty good, but, you know, it's more like the equivalent, the Whitesnake equivalent of We Wish You Well. And that's actually a pretty legitimate comparison. But it closes out the album totally fine. But anyways, my favorite song from side number 2 is by far the Prophet song. Okay, that song is a beast. That song is amazing. And if for whatever reason you're a casual Queen fan and only know the hits, you need to expand your horizon because Queen has so many great songs that are not the hits. So, wrapping up, that is going to conclude my review of A Night at the Opera. Now, there are some songs on here that work better than others. That's the expected, because again, we have a wide variety of genres on this album. I think that's awesome. They are expanding their horizons and delving into diversity and everything. I think that's great. However, having said all that, there's going to be some things that work for some people and other things that don't work for other people. I am just talking about what works for me. If another side of Queen works for you, feel free to post your opinion in the comments. Just understand what I am saying tonight is my subjective opinion. But I absolutely do recommend this album. It has highs, it has lows, but the highs are incredibly high. And for that, you really do need to hear A Night at the Opera, and I do recommend this album. So anyways, thank you all very much for joining me tonight. I want to thank you in advance if you plan to watch my next episode and not break my heart. But until then, have a very pleasant evening.